Hello, welcome to Monday, August 31st, Pre-AP English 1 lesson for the day. I just want to go over, we're on the Google site. We are on week 2, and we're just moving everything on to week 2. So if you're looking for things, you just can go up to the Unit 1 and click on week 2 to get to this page. Again, here will be the video presentation, and here is just the Google Slides if you prefer just to click through the slides on your own. Just to touch on today, I will have a Google Meet to 11:25 to 11:50. This is just if you need help with getting onto Sabas and your online text. I believe some students were struggling with finding on that online assignment how to find the mentor text and read the mentor text. So I will be there to guide you and try to help you get that figured out. Once I've helped all those students that need that help, then I'll answer any other questions that you may want to have some face-to-face conversation about. I did have a Google Meet last week and talked to about 3 students. So just to let you know, whenever I do have Google Meets, they're there. You don't have to attend, but please attend if you have questions, concerns, not quite sure about a lesson or activity. Those would be the times to come on. If you're having issues and you would like to just meet with me one-on-one, please message me and we'll see if we can make that arrangement where I can help you. All right, so I'm going to click on the slides and onto the slides for the day. Okay, so for today we're going to complete our warm-up. Remember, warm-ups are used for attendance to make sure that you are engaged in each period. So please make sure you take it. Be sure that when you fill out that Google form, that you put your last name, comma, first name. That's important. It just makes it very easy for me when I have to sort data to get everything organized. It becomes convoluted whenever I have to stop and figure out, since I'm not quite familiar with what periods you're in and all your names. It takes me some time then if students don't do that correctly. So please make sure you put your last name, comma, first name, and please be sure you select the correct class period. That has also been a little bit of an issue for just a few students. So make sure you select the correct class period you are taking pre-AP English. All right, so after we go through the warm-up, we're going to be talking about denotation and connotation. We'll go back over the Cost of Survival, which was the mentor text that we started reading last week. And then we probably won't get to it. We were going to prepare for Through the Tunnel, but I think we're just going to make it to the summary and play a little catch-up today. Okay, so for the warm-up here, you're to write the definition of the following vocabulary words as they are used in context. On the Google form, you will need to do that. So please pause the video and go to your Google form and complete the warm-up. Okay, you should have finished the warm-up by now, and let's go on and review and recap what you did for the warm-up. So let's look at number 1. The book describes the gritty realities of life on the street. So gritty realities, how would you define the gritty realities? They are tough and rough. The sandpaper is gritty. Same word. What does it mean here? Having a rough texture, so very similar in meaning. The shirt is cheap enough for me to afford. It means you're referring to its low cost, inexpensive. Because a shirt is so cheap, it has started to fall apart. So here you're using cheap as a poor quality. All right, so this is leading us into denotation and connotation. Denotation is the dictionary definition of the word. Easy to remember. D for denotation, dictionary meaning. So the literal definition of a word. Connotation is a little different. It's the idea or feelings that a word evokes in addition to its literal or primary meaning. For example, we have we have two words like house and home. House has a very cold feeling. It's more of a dictionary. It's a description that we give for a building with four walls and with rooms inside. But when we use the word home, we're using it to associate with feelings of warmth and family, typically. So here's another example. She's feeling blue. So if we take the denotation or the dictionary definition of the word blue, we can say that's the color of the sky. It's a primary color between green and violet. It affects the light, an effect of light with wavelengths between 450 and 500 nanometers. So that's the literal definition of the word blue. If we want to look at the connotation, which is how this word blue is being used here, we're referring to the feelings, the emotions of sadness. So connotations can have positive, negative, or neutral emotions, okay? Positive evokes feelings of happiness, excitement. For example, the word purebred, that's a positive word. Has a positive connotation. Some words have a negative connotation, which invokes feelings of sadness, anger, or any kind of negativity. So we refer to dogs as mutts. That's being very negative. When we talk about a dog being a purebred, we're referring to something of authentic, very positive. That's the kind of maybe animal we would like. And a mutt is something that is negatively looked upon. A neutral doesn't invoke positive or negative. It's just very neutral. It doesn't go anyway. And so a dog is a dog. It's not negative and it's not positive. Let's try this one. Look at these words: thin, skinny, slender, or scrawny. So take a moment and think and pause the video and determine which box do each of these words go on. Which one is positive, which one's neutral, and we have two that are negative. One is more negative than the other, so let's see if you can figure this out. So take a moment, pause the video, try it before you click on it, and see if you can get the answers correct. Okay, you should have unpaused the video now. So let's talk about the positive. Of these four words, which one has a positive connotation? It's something desirable or an admirable trait between these four words. The correct answer is slender. Slender has a positive connotation. It is not insulting. It's not saying you are too thin, and it's not saying that you're too fat either, it's just a very positive connotation. Okay, so which of these has a neutral? Has no connotation at all. It's just a very neutral description. The answer is thin. When you tell somebody they're thin, it's again a very neutral comment to make. Which one of these is negative? A slight insult about being underweight. And I know you might not believe it, but the word is skinny. I know we have like skinny jeans and we're like, oh, that's not a negative thing. We like to be say we're skinny. But it does have a slight negative connotation that's saying that you're suggesting that you're underweight. Now, an extremely insulting insult implying weakness, of course, I think you should be able to get this, is scrawny. Okay, denotation versus connotation. Let's go back to our warm-up, and we're going to look at each sentence and look at the words and see if they're being used in a denotative way or a connotative ways. So the book describes the gritty realities of life on the street. Is this being used as a definition, or is it to create some kind of emotion? The sandpaper is gritty. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I'd done that. All right, so let's go back to number one now. We have a connotation here. We're evoking a feeling of something rough, scary, tough on the streets. So the sandpaper is gritty. This is a denotation. It's telling us, it's giving us a description, a pretty dictionary definition of what a sandpaper is. It's gritty. The shirt is cheap enough for me to afford. Denotation, it's inexpensive. And because the shirt is so cheap, it has started to fall apart. Connotation, saying it's useless, it's not valuable. So if you look at sentence number 1 and 4, what are those connotations? Positive, negative, or neutral? The answer is they're negative. Okay, so you should have read already from last week the mentor text, and we've talked about how this is an argumentative piece of writing because the author is debating a point. They have an issue that they believe in, and they're giving you evidence to support that claim in their argument. So we're going to go through some of the elements of an argument. So what is a claim? A claim is the main idea of an essay that is stated in the thesis statement. Hopefully you remember about thesis statements. Remember, thesis statements typically come in the first paragraph, and they are the roadmap to your essay. They're going to tell your reader exactly what your paper is about, with not all the details, but it's a guide. It's going to let them know what to expect when they're about to read. So they're not trying to figure it out along the way. They have a clear map that they can lead them and drive them through your essay. Again, so a claim is the main idea of an essay that's stated in the thesis statement. The idea of an argument is to provide evidence that proves a claim. If you remember from last year, if you did Jane Schaefer highlighting with thesis statements, we highlighted those yellow. Evidence, concrete details, another word we use for evidence. We highlighted that pink, or if you use pen, you use red. So we're going to go back and reread The Cost of Survival, which is your mentor text. And as you read, I want you to look for the author's claim. So go back and pause the video and go back and definitely look in that first paragraph and see if you can find the author's claim. All right, so you should have found the author's claim. In the first paragraph, the adventurers should be the one to foot the bill. So he believes that people who are adventurous are the ones that should be responsible for their rescue. So there is his thesis statement, his claim. And I'd like for you to, on your online text, go ahead and highlight it as yellow, and you can note that that is the claim / thesis statement. Okay, evidence, or what we call as concrete details. What evidence supports the author's claim? So take a moment and see what are some of the evidence he provides in the essay, not the story, in the essay to support his claim. Take a moment and go back and read the passage, pause the video, and find the evidence. All right, so in the consumables we found evidence on page 7 for my online learners. You can find this in paragraph 3. In 2012, millions of people hiked, climbed, and boated in national parks, but only 2,876 needed help. More than 1,600 of those emergencies have been caused by risky decisions. Someone has to pay for these rescues. The rescues of the family stranded at sea cost $663,000. That figure does not include pay for rescue workers. Getting the caver safely to the surface involves 728 people. Okay, so that is a lot of evidence provided right there. Is there more? Yes. There's also paragraph 4, some people wind up in trouble because of bad luck, but others make dangerous choices. We need to treat these two groups differently. People who take extreme risk should pay for their rescue operations. Some states have passed laws to reflect this belief. So you can go ahead and highlight any evidence that you find in the text and highlight that pink. If you're actually using the textbook, you can use red pen or pink highlighter. Okay, what is a counterclaim? A counterclaim is an objection or a challenge to the claim that a writer presents in an argument. Someone who is making an argument needs to prove they understand both sides. To do so, the author will state the counterclaim and then provide a rebuttal. So if you want to be a good debater or a good writer, you still have to, and you're of course wanting people to believe your side and that your way is the only way to think, you still need to acknowledge that there is another side to your argument, that some people may think this way, but you're, as quickly as you say it, you don't want your reader to linger on that too much. You want to rebuttal that claim and show them but this is why you should not think this way or believe this. All right, and that again is called a counterclaim that you provide, and then a rebuttal to that counterclaim. So what is the counterclaim presented by the author in the article? So pause and see if you can find the counterclaim. Okay, so the counterclaim is that people believe the fear of having to pay to be rescued will make people more reluctant to call for help, which can make problems even worse. And I'm not going to read through this, but you can read through it. And here was the evidence for the counterclaim. So what is a rebuttal? Rebuttal is a literary technique used in an argument that provides evidence that weakens or undermines a counterclaim. So again, pause the video now and see if you can find the author's rebuttal to the counterclaim. Okay, so the author's rebuttal is presented in paragraphs 6 and 7 when he explains that people who are against billing for rescue operation forget that rescue workers may die trying to save people. Holding them responsible is to discourage adventurers from making dangerous choices. The author also says that taxpayers foot the bill, and the money used to fund rescue operations can be put to better use. And there's an example of some evidence to that rebuttal. Okay, summarizing. So last week, I did post this assignment about summarizing the article or the essay. And so we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to go over summarizing, and you can go ahead and complete this assignment. I moved it into week 2, so you should be able to find it there. So if you already did it, you're good to go. You don't have to go back and redo it. If you have not completed it or attempted it, now's the time to get this assignment done. Okay, so summarizing. A summary is a brief, complete overview of a text. It should not include personal opinions or commentary. It's strictly the facts of what you're finding in the article. It tells only what happens in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the text. Focus on the main points, not every little thing that happens. A summary should be written in present tense, so be sure all your verbs are in present tense. Include the title of the text, so make sure we are using the title, The Cost of Survival. And since this is an article, how are we going to show our reader that this is an article or an essay? You're going to put quotation marks around that. You're going to put a quotation mark around the cost of survival. You need to be concise and include only the main points. Be sure a summary is nice and balanced. Make sure you don't have you're just talking about so much of what was mentioned in the beginning and then very weak at the end. Make sure it's a nice balance from the beginning and middle and the end. Many students want to write about everything. Just pick the main points. You do not need to mention everything. All right. We're going ahead and skip the who can tell me a summary of a book. If you would like to tell me a summary of a book or movie you have read, feel free to add that into your comments in the assignment for summarizing. I would love to read your comments and hear any of your favorite books or summary of that, or any movies, although this summer we didn't get to that many great movies out because of COVID. All right. Oops. Sorry. That did not need to happen. All right. So fill out the summary chart. Remote learners, you will find this worksheet in Google Classroom. So you need to go back to Google Classroom, click on classwork. Again, it was already open from last week. I moved it into week 2 and I adjusted the date. So it is open for you to do. In each box, you will fill in the main ideas with the beginning, the middle, and the end of the cost of survival. See how the title is in quotation marks. Be sure you do that. When you're finished, use information in the chart to write a 3 to 5 sentence summary. Remember, again, write in the present tense, include the title, be concise, and do only the main points. All right, so that's all for today. We will pick up with moving on to a short story tomorrow, and I hope everyone is doing well. And don't forget, I have a Google Meet today if you need help getting online. If you have any questions, comments, please email me or message me through Remind or Google Classroom.